Today, I'm going to take you through the transition from the late Middle Ages to the Renaissance. If we were to take the Middle Ages and plot it on a timeline, we'd probably plot it right in the middle of the timeline. When we talked about the Middle Ages, we talked about it as a very big time period, and so we broke it up into two halves. We talked about the early Middle Ages and the late Middle Ages. We also talked about the Middle Ages as being characterized as a dark ages, and maybe the reference to being dark might conjure up some ideas that it was a scary or uncertain time. Maybe it was dark because it lacked ingenuity and creativity. Maybe it was a kind of a dull period of history where there was ignorance and not a lot of education. We definitely highlighted some of the catastrophes, the wars, the deaths, and destruction that certainly do occur in the Middle Ages. We talked about the fall of Rome and the ultimate barbaric invasions to Rome. We talked about the Battle of Hastings in England. We talked about the Hundred Years' War between England and France. We've talked about the Spanish Reconquista and the Spanish Inquisition. We've talked about the Crusades, the Holy Wars to defend the holy city of Jerusalem from the Muslims. We've talked about the Mongol invasions. And ultimately, we concluded with the rise of the Black Death. These Middle Ages were, in fact, a dark time for people, but there was a bit of nostalgia and there was a bit of potential, maybe hope, that there could be a better day. And the nostalgia was really a reflection of the old ancient Roman Empire days, the days when there was money and there was a strong empire and the military was uh, achieving successes. And so the Dark Ages did bring up to people how a long time ago the years were better. The hope, of course, was that maybe one day the Middle Ages would end and there would be a return to that greatness of the Roman Empire. Well, eventually the Middle Ages do go away, and the emerging era is called the Renaissance. The Renaissance is, in fact, a desire to return to the Greco-Roman greatness of years past. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Renaissance is defined in short by the word rebirth. And the word rebirth has two parts to it. It has the re and the birth. The re is a reflection of doing something again, returning to something again. And in this case, it's a returning of the old, specifically the olden days of the Greco-Roman past. The word birth conjures up the idea of something brand new. And we're talking about a new beginning in the modern world. And so the Renaissance truly is this idea of coming into the modern world with a remembrance and an inspiration from the people of the Greco-Roman past. Almost in a way like a fashion statement of years, a long time ago, um, kind of fade away. But eventually, maybe in the modern era, that fashion statement may come back. It just comes back in the modern era a little differently with a new twist. And so again, on my timeline, if we were to plot these benchmarks, these moments in history, we'd put our Middle Ages in the center. The years prior to the Middle Ages, we would put over here to the left. That would be the Roman Empire. And once the Middle Ages are seemingly no more, we have a new era emerging, the Renaissance. And the Renaissance, in fact, is a return to that Roman Empire. Where, in fact, does the Renaissance begin? The Renaissance begins here in Europe. Specifically, it begins here in the Italian peninsula. If we zoom into the Italian peninsula, you may notice that it is not one color. It is not ruled by one particular king. It is not unified like some of our other nation states. It's actually a collection of city-states, and there are a variety of city-states. I'm going to highlight three of them. The one with my star, that's a pink star, is the city-state of Florence. The purple star is on the city-state called Venice. And the third city-state with my orange star is the city of Genoa. These city-states are ruled independently, and they are ruled as maritime republics. Let's talk about the word republic first. We've seen that word before. In the word republic, the three letters rep, we talked about reminding us of representative government. Each of these city-states is basically a representative republic. And those people in charge who are representing the public are those people who earned their money from sailing and trading and becoming good merchants. That's why we call them maritime republics, because the people who are representing the public earned their power because they were wealthy due to their maritime activities. So they are represented by the merchant class. So here, the merchant class is quite strong and quite powerful, and of course, quite rich. Why does the Renaissance even begin in Italy? And again, this map lends itself to answering that question. You might see that in the Mediterranean Sea, there are lots of trade route arrows. The biggest reason why the Renaissance begins in Italy, because they are in the center of trade. Again, maritime trade, water trade. Italians become the middlemen of this trade. If we look at who they're trading with their Middle Eastern partners. Here's a map showing Italy. They're trading over here with the Middle East. The Italians are trading with Northern Europeans. Again, our map, they're trading up here. And as a result, the Italians become really prosperous. And it's because of this wealth and prosperity that they're able to be driven out of this dark age. Wealth will actually be part of the recovery story from the war and the destruction and the damage. The money will help rebuild Italy into a recovering kind of a spot. In Italy, as wealth is driving their recovery, the Italians begin to have new values, new sense of life. They're renewed, they're rejuvenated. And there are three values I'm going to highlight. The first value is the value of capitalism. Capitalism, in short, is valuing money. It is the idea of having money, making money, spending money. Capitalism truly is the celebration or the enjoyment of one's personal wealth. It is enjoying and pursuing one's personal wealth. If you like to make money, want to spend your money or use your money in your own way, then you are a capitalist. Number two, the second Renaissance value is the value called secularism. Secularism, in short form, is usually defined by the word worldly. And to be worldly, it really means embracing things of this world, meaning we're not really focusing on the ever after. We're not focusing on the world after we're gone, our spiritual world. We're really trying to embrace everything of this world. And therefore, we are living for today and we are enjoying all the material pleasures that are around us. If there's chocolate cake, we want to eat chocolate cake. And if there are roller coasters, we want to ride on those roller coasters. And if there are fancy clothes and fancy shoes and fancy art, we want those things because those things are the material luxuries that we want to enjoy while we are living. We don't want to hold back and wait until we are gone and really can't enjoy them anymore. The third value is the value called humanism. And the way we're going to interpret humanism is to think about the importance of the human and what makes us individuals unique. We're going to celebrate what we can do. And one of the most important things that humans can do is we can think for ourselves. And so thinking for yourself is really important and trying very hard to reach your potential, not to settle, not to be a blind follower of what someone else is doing, but to actually do everything in your power to be the best you can be. Part of the quality of a humanist is, of course, learning. And so education and being educated really matters. And in part of that, it's really important to study the past because you need to understand the people who came before you in order to really understand who you are. So education matters and studying the past. And of course, because this is the Renaissance, and again, the hope was to bring back the glory days of the past, it makes sense that what people are studying is the Greco-Roman writings. And so the classical Greco-Roman culture and literature is really on the forefront of people's minds and interests. This concludes the part one of our Renaissance informational lecture. I hope it helped and can help you get through the rest of the assignments.